episode 2 of our new Unblocked chat show, Peer to Peer, where we're speaking to entrepreneurs about the business models of the future. And we're delighted to have Simon Hooper here this morning to talk to us about the future of connected care. Simon's building really interesting business, and he's been in the business of elderly care for quite some time, but bringing technology into that. So we're really looking forward to hearing from you, Simon. And I wondered if you could just start off by giving the audience a little bit of an introduction into your career, and in particular why technology has become such a central part of your mission to build healthcare products.
Helen, yeah, good morning. Thank you for inviting me on the show. Yes, it's been quite a journey. I suppose I am effectively that consummate entrepreneur, if you like, that's come from a tech background. I was in the oil industry for 10 years. And I've been around the houses enough to be able to say that I was one of those that brought technology to the oil industry many years ago. And they were a community that adopted very fast. It took no more than 2 years to persuade them to adopt quite sophisticated technology, you know, gamma ray neutron technology and so forth. But the healthcare sector, which I've found myself in after many years of different activities in between, the healthcare sector is quite slow to adopt for many reasons, whether it's legacy or staffing. It's difficult, much more difficult than the oil industry, but certainly my past has prepared me for what needs to be done. And there's no doubt that healthcare is going through a transformation, a much needed transformation, and that COVID has focused the attention of many people and the recognition, shall we say, that technology does bring answers to many of the problems that we have to face. And in our space, it's very much about the person, because the systems we've built are all based around person-centered care. Through personal experience, my partner, Etienne Abrahams, and myself both experienced 15 to 20 years of the need to care for our family relatives and recognized that person-centered care was sadly lacking. It took a while for us to realize that there was also a return on investment to be had for improving person-centered care, but that's where we're going now. So it's been quite a journey.
Absolutely. And I'm really interested in this, as you know, because I've experienced this from a kind of professional background in terms of my work in health policy, where I really could see that these kind of centralized top-down systems really struggle to put the patient at the heart of things. And on a personal level, I, like many people, I'm sure, have elderly relatives who it's harder to care for, particularly during a pandemic where you can't see people, whether mine are not in care homes, but you know, whether they're in care homes or just you simply can't visit people. And I know Bridget, who's listening in, is going through this with her dad as well. So there are a lot of people really interested, and I want to kind of dig into that and say, you know, a lot of us in this community are interested in emerging technologies, things like blockchain, and I know what you've been trying to do to bring a kind of tokenized element in. So can you just talk a bit about what's so transformative, particularly about blockchain and the element of tokenization, and maybe just explain what tokenization is in case people don't really know?
Yeah, so it's interesting because our system is being used, or has been used for quite a while, in care homes. And in care homes, they have their own set of requirements. And of course, they have their own ability to protect the vulnerable, protect families and so forth. But the moment you enter into the consumer space, as we're now doing, faster than intended, courtesy of COVID, you are in a world where you need to provide protection. You also need to, for the vulnerable, you also need to generate trust mechanisms, because the moment you start engaging with consumers, those in the public space, it becomes your responsibility to manage their needs, basically. And you know, we've realized quite quickly on that one of the best ways to do that would be to basically take a look at blockchain, because blockchain does provide that trust model that's so important. But of course, the moment we did that, we realized that blockchain offered other opportunities, from providing rewards to those involved in care, and of course also the possibility of funding. And on the back of that, we found that we developed what we call 5 pillars. These are the 5 underlying principles to the business that we're building, and which are based on our own personal experience. And they revolve around obviously delivering enhanced person-centered care, but also ensuring that those who deliver care are rewarded for their care. I mean, that's the basis of life. We all get rewarded, whether we shop in Tesco or get air miles or petrol from Shell. Why not bring rewards to care? And of course, the token side of things in blockchain enables one to do that, to deliver rewards for care provided. You help your next door neighbor, you get rewards. My son engages with my somewhat scary mother-in-law, he gets rewarded in tokens. Why not? And so we thought, let's take a look at this. And then the other, of course, is this issue that's very much at the zeitgeist at the moment, which is the wealth divide and more equitable wealth sharing, if you like. Well, why not give those that are our members that are using our care tools to support their needs in the community, why not give them a share of the business? And of course, tokens provides a means to do that. And then lastly, one of my pet bugbears is the fair and equitable distribution of the value in data. And this again is very much in the mind of regulators, whether it's GDPR and of course the Silicon Valley, because data, well, I mean, let's put it this way, Silicon Valley call us serfs because they basically harvest the data that we generate through work. Right now, they're capturing data and this call has a value. That value should be more equitably distributed. It should come to those who need it. It should come to the carers, to the families, to the local associations, the lunch club that used to provide my mother with lunches, but now they can't afford to do because they don't have the money to do it. The money that they would need to be able to maintain that is sitting in that data that heads across the Atlantic. So those are kind of the pillars that blockchain has enabled us to deliver. How it does that is another question.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating because we were speaking on the previous chat show with Justin Bannon from Boson Protocol. We were talking about the future of e-commerce and e-commerce. And one of the things that came up very strongly was this issue of extraction and kind of data harvesting and so on. And I think obviously he's focusing more on the kind of e-commerce side, but you know, there's commonalities in what you're saying about giving power back to individuals, you know, keeping communities really strong. And a lot of the information and value that's in these communities, I mean, patient groups is a classic example where there's enormous amounts of value and shared knowledge. I'm in one at the moment for a problem that I have, and I'm just getting so much useful stuff from there that I couldn't get from anywhere else. But it's not, you know, being monetized at the moment, and I think it potentially could be. So I find that whole area really, really interesting. And I guess I wanted to ask whether the pandemic has sort of accelerated what you're doing, because obviously we all now realize that tech is not a nice thing to have. It's actually the fundamental thing that allows us to function in every way, from education to healthcare to finance to, you know, insurance claims, whatever it is. We've got to do it all through our laptops and smartphones and tech these days. But has the kind of last year or so made a difference to what you're doing?
Oh God, it's been radical, like, you know, for so many. I'm very fortunate that on a personal level, apart from a few friends, it hasn't impacted, but we were about to go to scale in February. We have partnerships with Consensus Health in terms of the blockchain side of things. We partners with Sharp, one of the world's largest hardware builders, Ajibadem, a hospital group. We were in February about to go to scale to generate significant revenue and then gain funding, you know, 5-10 million. It was all going great. My family finally believed we were going to pull this off. And then literally 5 days before we were due to launch with Sharp, a campaign across the UK to 17,000 care homes, it went splat. I mean, there's no other description for it really other than splat. And we lost everything, revenue, potential for funding. I mean, it was disastrous. But then, I won't say every cloud has a silver lining, but ours did. It had a golden lining, in fact, because we sent out an invite to about 20,000 people around the world saying you can use our system for free instead of charging. And what that gave us, and we ended up with 1,200 care homes signing up within, you know, a few weeks. It was a remarkable response because they needed what we had, a means to deliver digital activities. And I should explain what our system does. It delivers digital activities as a forms of engagement to enable carers to better know the person, and then builds a profile of the person using a unique data set that we've created called electronic life records. So the likes, dislikes, moods, habits, well-being, preferences, memories, life story, very rich data. It's the sort of data set that Facebook has, but deployed specifically only and managed by the individual for carers and for care use. And so those digital activities are the foundation for engagement, but we've layered on top of that many other functionalities, right through to helping care homes gain new clients through proving that they can deliver care, to delivering reports to the regulatory services, such as the CQC. So it's a very comprehensive service. But to come back to it, we found it to be a very difficult time, but the moment we got those care homes on board, we were able to ask them what they wanted. And of course, their needs were different from the previous year. They wanted a way to engage families like we are now, but also to engage those suppliers that provide activities that would usually visit the care facility or even visit someone's home, but to be able to do it digitally. So we've built an end-to-end method for, to put it simply, a guitarist in Texas to be able to schedule and perform to 30 care homes in the UK, or a bagpipes player, which we actually have, performing to care homes in California. That's new, and it has a wonderful economy of scale. It's cheaper for the care facility. It enables the care facility to engage family members during the activity. And of course, it's beneficial for the performer because they can generate more. It's a win-win-win-win, basically. So
Yeah,
what has happened?
good idea, actually, thinking about that. I mean, obviously, we would love to be able to still have music groups and people coming into care homes, but the wider access to a wider variety of different types of music, artists who might not otherwise obviously ever visit a particular care home in a particular part of the UK, but people can be buzzed in from anywhere around the world, and the fact that the families can be part of it as well from wherever they are, I think that's actually something really beautiful that could.
It is very exciting because you can discover, our system finds commonality of interest. So it discovers what family members and carers and the person who's being cared for like, and then it can match that with a performer available somewhere. So it becomes very rich. And we've got schools, and I hasten to say we haven't fully launched yet. We obviously we're in care homes and many products out there, but this system, the ReMeLife system, which is viewable on ReMeLife.com, we launch in a few weeks' time, and we're launching in 2 phases. So the first phase will enable all of our members to use our products, from Remi Meets, the video conferencing, through to activities, and the Alexa suite that we've built as well. We've built a suite of Alexa care skills that enable remote engagement. We've made Alexa, and this is going to annoy a lot of people, we've made it possible for Remi Connect, for the Alexa in Remi Connect, to speak to you unspoken. So it will start talking and say, Helen, have you taken your medication? Unprompted, and that makes it quite unique. So this suite of tools will be available in a few weeks, but the full tokenized ecosystem will be available in about 2 months' time. So we're working very hard on that, and it has a lot of regulatory issues we've got to make, and that's what slowed us up. We've got to make sure that we're totally compliant, quite rightly, so that we are doing things correctly and to the benefit of our members.
Sure. And someone was asking, how do you convert the reward tokens into actual value for the stakeholders? So how would that work if I, had done all these things, helped my mother-in-law, been involved in concerts, whatever? How do I get direct benefit from that?
That's been the hard part, to create the sort of virtuous circle, if you like, so that it is effective and consequential. I mean, don't forget the main reason for becoming a member is to use our tools that we've built, that improve care and care engagement and remote management, and to use the tools of our partners that we're integrated with. But whenever you do that, you are undertaking what we call care actions. And those care actions automatically generate for you a token. So you'll have a wallet immediately. And if you look in your wallet, you'll find you're collecting tokens every time you engage with your grandmother or do anything digitally online through our affiliate systems, because we're integrated with many systems. So you collect tokens, and those tokens have a value. That value is volatile. We took the view that it should be. Why shouldn't our members gain beneficially from a growth in value? We want to have our members begin to understand and appreciate the world of, I won't say blockchain, but tokens and value and so forth. And they redeem them effectively to acquire the discounts in the products that our affiliates are selling.
So it's redeemable within the ecosystem rather than something that you can convert outside.
You can take it outside at the end of phase 2 when we build in a while, and you can take that REMC token and you could exchange it for Ether and then convert it to cash if you want to do so. Right. And you can also buy tokens from outside and bring them in and buy products. And the products range from, a bunch of flowers from a florist who wants to supply flowers for your family, through to hospitals offering hip replacements.
So it's sort of a healthcare marketplace in a way that you.
A healthcare marketplace.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
And when you do the memory profiling, I'm really interested in this because I have a mother who's got a declining memory, and I know part of the sort of treatment for dementia and so on is memory cafes and things like that, and building, life stories. How do you kind of digitize that as part of your profiling? How does that work?
Well, that was how we started off. I started off courtesy of my mother being bedbound for 15 years by putting knowledge of her life story on a tablet. So when the carers came into her room, they wouldn't simply say, as they did for many years, "Isn't it a lovely day today, Pauline?" They would say something along the lines of, "What a lovely day for a Spitfire flight, Pauline." Now, that one change really improves your well-being, because she had an amazing war. She was involved with Spitfires. She's had a lot of stories to tell. So just that one little bit of knowledge completely changes the relationship between the carer and the person. And it ended up such that my mother was visiting their homes for dinner and, offer medication, and, a happy camper, courtesy of the carers seeing her as a person, not a number. So that first level of capture of information is provided by the family at the point of enrollment, a basic set of gamified questions that are fun to answer. What's Simon's favorite music? Jimi Hendrix. What's his favorite football club? Spurs. That's basic knowledge. But from then on, the activities that are delivered, reminiscence, cognitive stimulation therapy, everything right down to, should we say, Johnny on the school bus, uploading onto his calendar, his Google Calendar, a message to get Alexa to tell Granddad to watch the football on Saturday. That very basic but very important engagement is captured. And from all that knowledge, a profile is built up that it's live. And the key thing to it is that it's changing. Most of the ways that knowledge of a person have been captured traditionally have been sort of either pen and paper or static. So they're often out of date, especially when cognitive decline is taking place. Whereas this is live. It's literally showing you the interests that are surfacing through discovery in activities day by day. So in my mother's case, her favorite song was Ain't No Mountain High Enough, Diana Ross, and that would change her mood completely. So a carer would know that. But if 2 weeks later she'd forgotten what that was, and it was now Sinatra, the carer would know that transition. And that seems so minor, but it's so important.
It makes a huge difference to individuals. Yeah, it's hard to appreciate how much difference it makes on a kind of emotional level, but also on a healthcare level as well.
Well, on a financial level as well, because in the hospitals we're in, it's possible, if you know the interests of 5 or 6 people with dementia, to have one carer, one nurse manage their needs through knowledge of their mutual interests. Whereas traditionally it'll be, one nurse per person with dementia. So that's got a big cost saving to it. So there's a very strong, and I won't say easily provable, but we've managed to quantify it, return on investment for adopting enhanced digitally driven person-centered care strategies.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds so fundamental, and yet it's been difficult to achieve in the past, I guess, because systems were much more centralized. And I guess also the other kind of hurdle is that obviously working with older people, they're not tech savvy. And there is this kind of digital divide, I mean, many elderly people are great at tech, but others don't have smartphones, not used to using laptops or, iPads and things like that. So how do you get around that? Is it the carers that are the sort of intermediary, or the family?
Well, I'll give you 2 examples. My mother, she was partially paralyzed in bed and arthritis, couldn't remember phone numbers and so forth, but she could talk for England, and she would have had no trouble engaging with Alexa and being somewhat abusive to it and connecting with family and so forth, and she'd have reveled in it. So I think Alexa voice is part of it. And of course she blossomed, as I say, the moment anyone really knew anything about her. But I'll give you another example, which is my mother-in-law, who 2 years ago, if you tried to get her to use a tablet, would have said, "Don't be ridiculous." And there's an adoption issue there because she's Russian, language and so forth. But the moment she found that she could use that tablet to find content that specifically matched her interests, in her case, Sudoku and cats. And the moment she found that that content would engage my son, her grandkids, to participate with her, commonality of interest, everything changed. I mean, we can't get her to put the damn thing down now, to be honest, because she's found it to be a tool for social engagement and for finding the content that she wants. I mean, it's just radically enhanced her life, no doubt about it. And it's enhanced my kids' lives, because they now engage with her around topics that interest them, as opposed to that engagement being a chore. And they get feedback, they get reward, they get dopamine from sending a video to her that she absolutely loves. So, it's really just digitizing all those things we do in everyday life, but directed towards health. And we call it health by stealth, which sounds terrible, but actually it's the best way to do it. You can get someone to uptake and improve their medication adherence, if the grandkids tell you to reward the grandkids for being part of that process of improving medication adherence.
Yeah, I think incentivization is such an interesting thing, because some people are very self-motivated, others, as you say, are driven by, oh, well, external accountability, my kids want me to do it, or my doctor wants me to do it. And so finding that and being able to bring that into the system is another big part of it. So again, it's just something that we haven't really been able to bring into our kind of fairly basic sort of systems that we have right now. But, you know, I know obviously a lot of people moving away from Facebook as well. And Facebook has been quite good for that, keeping in touch with people from all around the world and having shared interests, but not everybody wants to be on Facebook because of various issues to do with data and so on. So it's an alternative to that. And I suppose the other question people may have is, you know, about Alexa. Do they sort of worry about the ethics of Alexa sort of listening into elderly people, and somehow that there would be ethical concerns around that? What's your response to that?
It's an interesting one, and it's the one that's stopped us launching, and we haven't launched yet with it because we are still I mean, it's changing day by day in terms of what Amazon are doing and say they're doing when it comes to data. I would say that when you get to a certain point in life, you have to weigh up the pros and cons. I think of myself, I'm completely concerned about the data that is captured by Amazon. But in the case of my mother, who sadly is not with us now, but I would have been prepared to sacrifice and let that data go for the huge benefit that it would have brought her in terms of content provision, engagement, and so forth. It's like all these things in life. You have to weigh up the pros and cons. But you know, I do know that Amazon are on a pathway, as are, you know, the various data authorities with regard to rectifying that. But I can't say that we have an answer. We certainly have an answer when it comes to the worlds of what we're doing now, because we have our own system that is completely data protected. And we do with all the other systems that we have, but not when it comes to Alexa. It's you know, it's a moving feast at the moment.
Yeah. And so where are you now in terms of the evolution of this idea? You said you've already got quite a lot of people onboarded as users who are using a kind of free to air service, and you've got about 2 months until you launch the token-based system. So what's the roadmap going?
Yeah, it's well more than an idea. We've been using the underlying system of the data set, ELR, electronic life records, within the app for many years now, and the app is being relaunched. The ReMeCare app is being relaunched as a free app up in the 2 app stores, you know, Play Store and Apple.
So anybody, individual users, can just go and get that and start using it?
They can just go and get it. Not yet. It'll be a few weeks' time. We are a bit behind schedule. COVID keeps doing things to us, as you know, and indeed we need to prepare for scale. We've got so much demand for this. We're getting demand all over the world, so we're having to recruit furiously to be prepared. So it'll be a few weeks, but you can go to ReMeLife.com. Anyone could go to ReMeLife.com. Which again is being relaunched in a few weeks' time. It's kind of been a beta website where we've been collecting requirements from all over the world, but you can register as a member, become a member, and then you'll be updated and given alerts as we launch the various functionality that's available. So I guess it's one of those step-by-step, slightly messy launches, but then you know, these are the times we live in. But I mean, everything is imminent, very close, so that you'll be within 4 weeks able to use all the products, have a wallet, a digital token-based wallet. You'll find your accruing tokens, and we've got it to the point now whereby if you enroll your family members and friends and they enroll family members and friends, you'll find that you're accruing tokens passively. This is one of our missions, that you don't have to do anything. You pay no attention to it other than to be incentivized to make more care actions, whether it's with your family or next door neighbors or community, and your wallet will just grow passively with more and more tokens as that your network accrues tokens. And the same will be the same when we launch. It'll be the same when we launch the phase 2. You'll be able to acquire the products from those tokens you've accrued. So it's all happening. It's all you know, go now. And obviously we'd love anyone watching to register on ReMeLife.com as a member, and we'll keep them updated.
Sure. And so is it both business to business and business to consumer? And how does it work? Is it a subscription based service, or do people, the care homes, pay a membership fee, or how does that work?
Care homes pay annually a subscription fee. We are often sold through our partners because we're integrated with, you know, the Sharp sensory table, care planning software, wearables. So often it's our partners selling with our kit, Remi, the app, ReMeCare, inside and enhancing their offering, if you like. And yes, there's an annual subscription for care homes anywhere in the world. It's global. And that varies depending on what set of functionality they want to acquire. In fact, the basic functionality for care homes is free. We provide the activities and the games free, but if they want the reporting functionality and the others, then they pay a subscription. Okay. For families, it's free, completely free. All they have to pay if they want to use Alexa is a monthly subscription. I won't say how much. We haven't defined it, believe it or not, yet, because we're still figuring out the data side of it. But
if they already have an Alexa, they can use the one they've already got, or do you get
exactly.
it in the system?
No, they just basically download the skill, and the skill will cost a couple of quid a month, and that's it. It's a a nominal fee just for the data costs that we have. But basically, otherwise it's free, because we will gain our revenue, which we believe will be sizable because of its global nature. Our revenue comes from when they use the tokens to purchase products. Okay. So it's one of those unusual situations. It's a win-win. I always forget how many wins it is, but I think it's 6 wins. Everybody's winning. Win, 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 win. The consumer, the member gains, the party selling the products gains, everybody gains, apart from, of course, Silicon Valley. They're the entity that get cut out. So it's a classic example of blockchain providing a decentralized system. And the savings that are then passed on to everybody, dispersed across the whole stakeholder community.
Well, I think it's amazing. I'm really looking forward to hopefully being able to use it with my family, and I wish you a lot of luck in kind of rolling it out. I know there's a huge amount of things to do. I just wanted to close by asking you about some inspiration, because obviously 2021, we were all so hopeful, but it's actually been a pretty hard year so far. People are still in lockdown and waiting for vaccinations to roll out and so on. So I just wanted to ask you what's sort of been inspiring you, whether on a professional or a personal level, to keep you going through 2021?
It's an interesting question. I mean, there's so much that is inspiring during last year, obviously, but being, after all these years, I suppose, still effectively perceived by many as a startup because we keep launching new things. I think what I've been fascinated by is the ability for so many businesses to pivot, to be able to completely change their business model when it's become necessary. And of course, that's meant that smaller companies who can do it more quickly are rising to the top of the pile. And obviously, we hope there will be one of those. It's, we're getting such global demand now, it looks very likely. But it's been fascinating watching companies who originally did one thing before, now pivoting. I mean, right down to my local pub that I haven't been into for ages, who are now one of the leading delivery food entities in the area. It's a simple example, but they've pulled it off. They've created a whole new brand and profile. So it's been very interesting times. And of course, we are seeing a complete digital transition now to a world whereby we see tech at the forefront. And of course, for us, we are trying to get people offline. We want to build profiles, match people with the community so that they can then go outdoors again. So I think the other thing that's been inspiring for me is the community that's engaging with everyone. So put those two together, pivoting and the power of community engagement to address today's problems.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, as a fellow entrepreneur, I think it's sort of the perfect time to be an entrepreneur. I mean, obviously I run an events business and that's been hugely affected by COVID, and had to find different ways, including this, to engage communities and do things, in a new format. But, being able to kind of just come up with new ideas, change your mind, create products and services quickly and kind of think about what's right for now. It's actually an exciting challenge, as well as, obviously also having to grieve the previous way of doing things not being there anymore. But I think, we have seen immense innovation over the last year. I know one small business owner, female that I know, who said she pivoted her family's business 6 times last year. So, that's a pretty extraordinary entrepreneurial journey. So I think that's a lot of inspiration for all of us. And I just want to close by saying thank you. I think people did have a few more questions. If people want to get in touch with you, and they didn't get a chance to ask their question, how should they find you, Simon?
They can email me directly, simon@health-connected.com. If they want to register, as I say, they can become a member at ReMeLife.com on what is our sort of beta website at the moment. But I'd welcome talking to anybody. It's how we learn. So please do contact us directly. And indeed, there is a phone number which is on the website that you can find. I'll give it out directly now: 0203 884 0335. So yeah, we'd love to chat with anyone who's got an interest in what we're doing. And of course, I should say that we are launching a funding round. So if anyone wants to support us with regard to our scaling and growth, there are plenty of opportunities when it comes to to that side of things to participate. We are recruiting furiously. We're up to about, I think it's 50 now in our team, and we are, sourcing investors and partners. So it's a very exciting time, and we'd love to talk to anyone.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again so much. Our next show is going to be in 2 weeks' time on the 10th of February. We're going to be talking to another health entrepreneur, Dipti Aktrish, about her journey in wearables and remote monitoring. So thanks again, Simon, for being on the show. And thanks to everyone who was listening in. And if you know people who missed it, it's also going to be uploaded on YouTube in the next few days. So see you on the next show, and bye for now.
Thanks, Helen.